purity culture means to me is basically like they don't touch on the fact, what if something happened to you as a child? Your first kiss, you were 4 years old and it was by your cousin. Does that mean you're like not gonna be wanted by your future husband? I really don't think so. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, and it's been a minute since I've recorded something like this, like a sit down chit chat video like I love to do. Obviously I got married and 4th of July happened, and it was my actual anniversary with my husband. Well, like, whatever, you know, you celebrate those relationships for so long, you kind of just get used to it. Or like those anniversaries for so long, you just get used to it. And then, unfortunately, I was like not gonna share this, but it's like, you know, just so I guess if you see like why I was not struggling to post, but like I was kind of scared because like my grandma went to the hospital and it was pretty bad, but I mean, you know, God's in control, and she's back home now, so I was kind of like a little bit like anxious to see what was gonna happen. But yeah, we're figuring all that stuff out, but she's okay. She's at home resting, recovering, and yeah, that's I guess my absence explanation. Not that I needed one, but in case, you know, I don't know. I'm gonna get Aquaphor for my hands because they're horribly dry. But anyways, I had this thought for this video. It had to do with actually like getting married, and then you know, I was born and raised as a Catholic, you know, which I think not a lot of people, you know, but sorry, I'm all over the place. I was born and raised Catholic, and I think even Christians too. I don't know, unfortunately, much about different religions, but I'm sure this is a common theme with a lot of religion from what I've seen, is like the whole purity culture. If you don't know what purity culture is, there's so many videos on YouTube and TikTok about it, but in a rough draft, I guess, a rough draft, concise version, little mini script. Basically, from what I went through, obviously it might be different for you, but for me, what purity culture means to me is basically like you're not allowed to have sex until you're married. Once you're married, you can have at it as much as you want. That includes, like, can I say stuff like this on YouTube? I don't think I'll get banned. I'm pretty sure you can talk about sex on YouTube. If not, oh well. But that includes any kind of sex, any kind of, like, intimacy. Hear me out. Even, like, the priests that I would talk to, like, in my teenage years, are like, no making out, no kissing for longer than 3 seconds, no tongue, you can't hug for too long, obviously no touching of the goods in the front and the back, or, you know, anything like that. Basically, like, had to be very G-rated. And growing up, I went to, well, like, I got my, what's it called, confirmation and first communion, all that stuff, but for me, like, I vaguely remember first communion, but confirmation really stuck to me because I think that's when I was a little bit older and I was in high school. I think I was a freshman in high school, and that's when we got our purity rings, which I still have, and I think it's like a really gorgeous ring. I think the concept of being pure, and I think the concept of being pure is good, but if you mix it into like a big old group with all these labels, it's like that's when it gets messy. Because if you see someone, I should not have put all this Vaseline on my hands. Now I can't touch my phone. Okay, the spiritual meaning of purity often refers to like innocence, virtue, or freedom from sin or corruptions. So it's associated with abstinence, honesty, humility, or cleanliness of the heart and soul. I don't think I can see why, like, okay, but see, that's where it gets messy, you know, like, this is all, obviously, I am not I am not like a religious, I didn't go to school for it. I don't have any titles. I'm not claiming to be like any type of, I'm not trying to prove anybody wrong. This is just my take on it. I feel like I had to say that. I agree with that. Like, you can be pure, but I just don't think, like, I don't see how it can relate to like your whole sexual like virginity type of a thing. I can't see that like meshing together for some reason. I'm sure, like, I mean, I was like, I've heard the argument all my life, so you don't have to like argue with me, so I get it. But for me, I think purity is just being kind, generous, loving your neighbor, kind of like a Disney princess. You know, nowhere in there is there like, she slept with this many men and does all these things online. You know, that it's like, okay, that's what she does, but she's tidy, clean, very nice, generous, all that beautiful things, you know, like very princess vibes. But it just, it's hard for me to like really grasp that concept because, you know, I'm gonna obviously just speak from my experience. This, maybe you can relate. That's basically why I'm doing this. Obviously, I'm all over the place because this is just a very sensitive topic for me, but I felt the need to talk about it because I'm not even gonna lie, I was so scared to get married because I was so scared to go to confession and so scared to confess my sins, which was like, you know, I'm not ashamed of it, but it's like I did do it and I don't want to be disrespectful to anybody, but I don't see it as something bad. So anyways, yeah, that's why I'm all over the place. Excuse me. Where was I going with this? See, I have my notes, and I keep bouncing all over the place. Did I finish talking about the purity ring? They gave me a purity ring when I was in confirmation. I'm gonna start over so I can kind of retrace my steps, please. Okay. During my confirmation era, I don't like to use the word traumatized because it seems a little harsh for me, but in a lack of better terms, it traumatized me in a sense because I was like, they would have so many retreats and classes based off of like, you need to not have sex, do not have sex, no kissing, like I said, none of this. And I myself felt like tainted from the beginning. I was like, okay, well, first of all, this isn't gonna work, you know? And the fact that they'd be like, well, no man is gonna want you after you've been with this many different men. And I was like, well, damn, okay, I'm already screwed. But they never really specified, like, okay, and I know for a fact I was not alone in this because I heard later on I would hear stories of like people agreeing with me, you know? And they don't touch on the fact like, okay, what if something happened to you as a child? Your first kiss, you were 4 years old and it was by your cousin who was, you know, already 10. Does that mean you're like not gonna be wanted by your future husband? I really don't think so. That doesn't equal anything. And for the longest time, I thought it did. I was like, that just, like, I knew it didn't sit right with me, but I also, you know, you're a teenager and you're listening to all these people that are older than you, adults that you assume know what they're talking about because, you know, like, why would God lie? But it's like, as I got older, I understood, like, that those things don't correlate at all. And even growing up, you know, trying not to get too much into it, but like the humiliation during all these like meetings and retreats and stuff kind of like ingrained this baseline for me to feel like this, like I've seen it on TikTok, the Catholic guilt. But it just, I don't want to say that's the reason why I have trouble with intimacy. No, there was so many factors. Oh yeah, I just outed myself. Sure, that's one of my issues. And I don't like to call it an issue. but it's like, it really kind of sits in the back of your head while you're trying to understand these feelings, you know? But I personally am still working on it, and like, okay, you know, I don't know. Like I said, this is a hard video for me to make, but I really do think it needs to be talked about. I personally don't think one size fits all for like teaching people to be pure. You know, sure, it does say in the Bible, maybe. I'm not sure. I have not read the Bible, to be honest. I guess mainly like their concern was probably like stopping teen pregnancy, because where I live in my demographic, it was a really like, to be honest, I never saw a pregnant teenager, but I think the generation before had a lot of pregnant teenagers, so everyone was really trying to stop it from happening. And I mean, you have a bunch of like rowdy girls who live like in the quote-unquote hood that are like, dude, F you, I'm not listening. So you kind of have to, I guess, get very vulgar very fast, versus you have like little quiet, I guess, timid type people with the past of like, you know, stuff like that. And it's like, the shoe does not fit both sizes. My take on it too is purity is within you and not defined by your actions or things that have happened to you. If I could talk to myself at this age, or sorry, if right now I could send a message back to myself when I was, how old am I now? 28, 18, even younger, like 13 to 18 range. If you want to make out with your boyfriend at 15, go ahead. It's not gonna make you a bad person. It's not gonna cause any, like, nothing is going to explode. I promise. And even, I'm not even gonna lie, still, like, maybe within this past year or so, I still had the dang mentality, like, I'm gonna go to hell. And my husband's like, I kind of promise you're not, like, I think you'll be okay. But you know, you just get this drilled into you for so long. So like I said, back to like me telling my old self, like, I promise you're not gonna go to hell for making out with your boyfriend in the hallway. It's a canon event, just go through it. As long as you're safe, I'm not saying like, you know, have at it unsafely, unresponsibly. I really do think it's important to teach safety, responsibility, risks of all the things, you know, STDs, obviously pregnancies, other things, you know, emotional trauma that could happen if you're not mentally ready. That should probably be talked about, not just like, don't do it. Okay, you have people that sneak around and it's like, okay, you did do it, and then you're like in your head the whole time and you're left scarred, you know? Or how about like equally, like, I won't even get into this, but like equally like explain things to maybe the boys and the girls, but they would have us separated too, like during stuff like that. And I even asked my husband, I was like, did they talk to you about stuff like this? And they're like, no. I mean, they didn't say anything. I was like, okay. I mean, they even taught, like, at the end of the day, what matters is yourself and how you feel and how your conscience is telling you. Like, if it feels right to you in your heart what you're doing, it's probably okay. Don't hold on to like any, not regrets, what's the word? Don't hold on to any like bad feelings that you feel about certain things, you know, like because someone else says like, oh, that's bad, don't do it, but it felt good to you in the moment, it's okay. Like I said, I can only speak from my own experiences and things I've been through. And again, I don't want to like start a fire on the internet, so I can't really get into too much of my life because I don't want to get in trouble. But maybe I'll say it later when I don't know what I'm saying. Okay. It's kind of tough. I'm sure other people feel the same way, like in my shoes. I hope this video freaking came out good, because I think I was just all over the place and now I have a headache. But yeah, that was it. Thank you for watching. I'm gonna have lunch. Maybe I'll remake this later.